Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today I want to talk about the Matrix Mini iPro 3. Now this DAC amp is kind of special because it's kind of something I expect like Apple to make, because it actually comes with software called Airplay that makes it actually wirelessly connect to your phone through your house like Wi-Fi, or you can plug this into Ethernet and you can actually communicate it as long as you're inside your network in your house and change the song on this, which is really cool. And that also gives it the capability to actually display the song you're playing and then show you like exactly how it's progressing as well, like, you know, a minute through. And that's something I haven't really seen on any device, any DAC amp I've tested before. I think that's what makes this really unique, because it's used as a streamer. And I think a lot of people have a lot of uses for this. I mean, I think more speaker focused people would find that very helpful, but even headphones, it kind of just lets you kind of be like, you can plug it in wired, but you can just stream your music as well. It makes it a little easier than having wires everywhere, right? So we're gonna talk about that feature and then talk about the other features it has, like fully wired mode. And I did most of the testing of this DAC amp using the Hyphen HE6 SE V2. And I'm going to do comparisons with this with the topping A90 D90 stack right here, which comes at a price about $1,500. So they're kind of close in price, but obviously this is a little pricier and it's kind of two different units together versus this is just all in one small package. So that will be an interesting comparison, because you can kind of see the different features they have and the difference in the sound. So I want to thank Apos Audio for setting out the Matrix for review. And as always, I have links in the description below for Apos Audio. If you guys buy through those links, it actually helps support my channel. And yeah, and this D90 is also sent by Apos, but this A90 is actually mine. I've had this for over a year and I still haven't done a review on it, so I should definitely get to that eventually. But yeah, thank you guys. Anyways, if you guys find this helpful, please like and subscribe down below. Like literally smash that like button, because it really helps the YouTube algorithm out. Anyways, let's begin and talk about the build. All right, so let's talk about the build. So the build of this device is just nice aluminum chassis. It's very, very sturdy. It feels very heavy in the hands. And overall, I really like the look of it. It looks very refined. It's built very well. You feel like you got what you paid for, which is great. All right, looking at this device, we have the 1/4-inch adapter to plug in your single end devices in here. Then we have the 4.4 Pentagon to plug in your balanced headphones into. And then we have the screen, which I'm playing right now through my phone. So Airplay is on. You can see that the Wi-Fi is on, it's streaming. And then you can see the song I'm playing, which is The Joker and the Queen by Taylor Swift. So it kind of shows you the album art as well. So I think that's really cool. It tells you your line out is activated and your kind of volume, which you can change using this. So taking a look at the back, we have the XLR connections, the RCAs, the optical, everything, the LAN USB, so you can see everything you have. The most interesting button is this one right here. You can push this button to change things like the filter and get to your advanced settings and connect like the Wi-Fi and Ethernet stuff. So that button is very important. So I'll show you guys it pushed. So when you push this button right here, you enter kind of your input mode, so you can choose which ones you want. The normal ones I use the USB audio, Bluetooth, or streaming, whichever one. They also have the other options available. So the cool thing is when you push that white button that I showed you guys earlier, we enter the advanced menu where you can choose a lot of different things. So we have like different filters, which even shows you kind of what they look like and how they affect the sound. And then you can go back and we can look at the different line out modes, the gain, and like the Bluetooth. And really there's a lot of options that you can see through here that is very customizable. And I think the most fun one is actually the background. You can kind of change the way this looks. So you can have it colorful, you can have it black, you can have it bright, you can have a grid. So you can actually change the way it looks, which is cool if you like, you know, want to change it up a little bit. I haven't really seen that, but that's a cool customization that people can do. You can even firmware update. So there's a lot of options that are available, which makes this device really cool. Like I said, it feels very advanced and a little different with its kind of interface that it has. And then when you get out of it, you can just exit. So let's talk about connectivity for this device. So like I said, I'm streaming right now. I've noticed that this song can be played at 24-bit 96 kilohertz, but it only plays up to 44 through the streaming. So I must be a limit with the streaming. As well as Bluetooth, I've also noticed that it's limited. And it's probably something to do with the iPhone. I think this thing actually has LDAC. So if you have like those Android phones that can kind of transmit high resolution music, you should be able to transfer it with this device. As well as this device has other things like MQA decoding and Rune support. I don't really use those things, but they are here as well if you need it. And then of course you can just plug this into your audio device through USB if you want like the highest quality audio. Then just going straight wired is the easiest and should guarantee you the highest. Because once I plug that in, I have no kind of compatibility issues with what it plays. Like I said, wireless stuff is much more advanced, so you have to have the right receivers and transmitters to make sure everything works. So it's something you have to take in consideration. And this, I think, can be used well with speakers as well as headphones, so whichever one you want. So what's the experience using the devices? So something I noticed using the Matrix is that when you plug into the headphone jack for the single-ended, it has its own separate volume control that you can change. And when you plug in the balance, it has the other volume. And that's cool that you can kind of separately kind of tune each one. And this digital knob is something that's very accurate and precise, but it also takes a very long time. Like you can see how many times I'm kind of turning this and how slow it's moving. So that's kind of annoying that it moves very slow. But because it gives you like a digital interface, you can get the same volume and the right volume every single time. Versus something like more traditional, like the topping. I feel like it's really great if I just want to move very quickly and change my volume, which is nice. But the issue is it's hard to get the same volume right every single time. And I don't have that separate, between the single end and the balance. It kind of controls all of them at the same time. So that's on the downside of something like this. When it comes to like the specs and the sound of the Matrix, it uses the Saber DAC 9038 Q2M, so it's like the low power version of it, versus like the topping uses the flagship DAC. That's not the low power version, so that's a little difference between them. And I would say this DAC sounds very neutral. It doesn't really have a flavor like I've heard in certain like iFi DACs before. All right, let's talk about sound. So the Matrix Mini iPro sounds honestly really good. Compared to the topping A90 D90, I do think those sound a little bit better, but I think one of the reasons why is that the Matrix has just a lot more features packed into it, as well as it's much more compact as well. So they have to fit a lot more in less space. So I think like causes a lot of different like interference type of stuff they have to deal with and making the sound maybe just a little worse. Honestly, the difference between DACs is really small. Like I would say they're just slightly different. Like the topping A90 is slightly better for sure. The difference between DACs in general and DAC amps in general is just slightly different because they're both solid state ones, right? So one of the important things to note is that if you plug in an IEM, this is D90se, into the Matrix, I've noticed that IEMs don't really play well with it because you can hear the noise floor and it's pretty significant hiss. Like you just hear it and it's very apparent, versus when you plug it into something like a topping A90, you won't hear a hiss at all. It's like kind of crazy how well its kind of noise floor is, and it clearly outperforms the Matrix. So in that use case, it's better. Another thing to notice as well between these two devices is that using the HyperMan HE6, this is a very kind of high power headphone. It requires a lot of power. I do actually get the volume close to, I would say, max on this device. So this device goes from like native like 100 to like 0 dB. I actually turn it up to like 10 using the HE6. So the HE6 is obviously a hard to drive headphone, but I would say I'm running close to the limit of this device when I plug it in. So that's another thing worth noting. Versus having something like a topping A90, you can push it a lot more. I don't really use much of its power. It puts out 6 watts, versus this device puts out 2 watts into 32 ohms. So there's a difference there, and the A90 obviously can perform a lot better in that regard. So there's definitely features to think about just besides sound that like this can probably outperform this. However, there's another thing to consider is that the Matrix is half the size, right? Half the height. It has streaming capability. It has a cool screen, it has customizability, and some people might actually like the looks of this and the functions of this better than the topping. When it comes to sound, the differences I really notice between these two is that when it comes to just like, I always feel like a better DAC, when you hear it, really kind of breaks down the music and there's a different layer. So like the way I see the topping stack is like I get closer to the music. Like it sounds like more like real life to me than it does on the Matrix. That's the best way I can describe it, honestly. Like I hear in like the treble performance, the topping just sounds like much more emphasized. It has like, it just extends higher is what I hear, versus when I hear it on the Matrix, it kind of just seems like it has a limit and it can't like burst past that limit. That makes any sense. While the topping just sounds much more extended to me. And I think that really helps with just it sounding more realistic and clear, in my opinion. And so I do think the topping does better in that regard, but I don't think the Matrix sounds bad. It's just in comparison, I do think the topping sounds better. When it comes to what devices you can actually plug in, I think IEMs are too noisy in my opinion, so I don't think those work with the Matrix. We have other headphones like the Sennheiser HD58X. I think this works well. A lot of just those headphones in the middle that aren't really like super hard to drive, like the Hyperion HE6, I think will be fine, and they work really well. The Hyperion HE6 is very demanding. I don't listen to my music as loud as certain people, but I can see certain people listening to it too so loud that just does not provide enough power for them. So if you're like a Susvara or like one of these high demanding headphone users, this might not be for you. But the thing you can always think about is you can fix kind of all these issues if you just buy a topping A90 and plug it into this just combine this as a DAC and use this as the amplifier, then you could run any headphone through this. So that's also a solution. In conclusion, do I recommend the Matrix? I definitely do. Now the Matrix is a very special device. Like I said, it allows you to stream anywhere, right? I think that's really cool with this cool menu systems and just kind of the look, the color, and the compact like form factor. I think a lot of people would like a nice looking device like this that can do a lot of different things. I think for those people, obviously this is a good choice. If you don't really care about all the extra features it has and you want to go for, ultimate just like sound quality and everything, then I would say, yeah, you can do the D90 A90 stack. Is definitely going to get you there instead. So I think there's different use cases for different devices, and just pick the one that works for you. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my videos out. I make more tech and audio related reviews here all the time, so you want to come back and check those out. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.